This is a Legendary Dragon build video for Crow Castle for full Lightning setup, and the information presented in here is based on the free auto battle wave build for Lightning that I posted earlier. If you haven't seen that one yet, I highly do recommend watching it first. It will be linked in the description and in the comments as well. And even though this is a Legendary Dragon build video, you can just as fine use it for Sin as well. Obviously, in that case, you will have less skill points and you will have lower level units, but the same build will work nevertheless. So we will go through the build and see some variations you can do to modify the build and how it works, who's going to be doing the damage, how you're going to be playing it. Let's go through everything right now. Main damage dealer for the build is Dark Lightning Archer, followed by Zeus and Thor as second and third, depending which one of them is higher level as, has better items, who is the second and who is the third. But those are the top 3 damage dealers against the dragon. And the fourth one will be your Thunder Tower, dealing a little bit of extra damage as well. So these are exactly the same units as we used in our waving build, so you don't have to level up any additional units in order to be able to farm Legendary Dragon or farm Sin, so that's really convenient for a full Lightning setup. Once you are using a dragon build and trying to kill a dragon, make sure that you set the targetings of Dark Lightning Archer to boss monster, and same for Zeus as well, and for Thor as well. Make sure they are targeting the boss so that they can keep on attacking the dragon as often as possible. For Thunder Tower, you can set boss as well most likely, but you can also just leave it on auto so that they will clear the normal monsters while you are battling the dragon. And for this video, the Dark Lightning Archer is at level 10,000 so that she can bear an orb. I use Orb of Luck on my Dark Lightning Archer over here, but you can start using this build against Legendary Dragon even if Dark Lightning Archer is not at level 10,000 yet. I would say probably like level 7 or 8,000 will be a point where you can kill him relatively fast. You can kill him on earlier levels as well, but it will be quite slow. So I would recommend waving and leveling your units until they are like, let's say 7,000 levels, for example, for Dark Lightning Archer. And just like in the waving build, we have Pure Wizard and Dark Necromancer in here because they are the core duo that should be included in every single build you make. Make sure they are in your build. And then we have Stone and Red Defender in here again to boost the damage of Thunder Towers, just like in the waving build as well. There's a lot of similarities in this build and the waving build. We have Smith in here for healing and Dark Elf in here for healing as well, especially early on when you are trying to get the first kills in. You will need to rely on Smith to also heal you so that you don't die the dragon attacks. And then we have a couple of more heroes in here. Chrono is of course in here to boost the game speed, which means faster dragon kills, which means we get more items per hour, which is just the thing you absolutely want to do. Make sure the Chrono is included in your dragon build. Below it, Dark Assassin is here just to provide the critical damage buff to the dragon. So Dark Assassin does not need to be leveled for this build as long as he is at level 51. And just make him promoted to Dark Assassin and make sure he's also targeting the boss monster so that he can apply this critical debuff to the boss monster, the dragon, as often as possible. Next to Dark Assassin, we have Bishop, who is just providing a little bit of boost, so making your kills a little bit faster. He will give you attack speed plus 10% for your heroes when he is cast, and also he will increase the attack of the units on the field by 50%. And we don't really have much units on the field except for Thor, so this should boost Thor's damage output a little bit, so it's a minor boost also to make your kills a little bit faster. And the final unit in here we have is the Druid, and the Druid is here only because of the castle defense. You don't really need Druid in this build, but there's not really anyone else that you can at this point fit in the build, so you might as well take Druid. If you have items with +1 summoned unit line, put them on Druid so that you can get a little bit of extra defense. You get 5% per ends and you can have up to 3 ends, so you can get up to 15% more defense. But even if you don't have those items, you can just fill the last slot with Druid, and no need to level Druid either. He's not going to be meant to be doing any kind of damage or anything like that. He's just there to fill the last slot. For towers, I have nothing else in here except Mirror and Thunder Tower. Nothing else is really required. Nothing else is really gonna be doing much of anything against the dragon. If you are struggling with mana, you can use Death Form in here, no problem. Just put it in the build and you are good to go. You can also use like Defensive Barracks, Frozen Tower, sure, if you want to, but they are not really gonna be doing anything at this stage for your build. For the buildings, they are the same basic that you use in your waving build, so Hero Guild to boost your hero damage, Spring Water to reduce your cooldowns, and the Tower to boost your Thunder Tower's damage a little bit more. If you're really struggling to get the early kills in, you might use Forts as well, probably to get a little bit of extra HP, but remember that the Dragon Breath and Headbutt attack, those deal percentual damage to your castle, so having a higher HP doesn't really help against those. It does help against normal attacks though, so it's a minor boost if you really need. You can try if the Force is going to be better for you in there. And for castle boss, the same thing as for your waving. So you will have the lightning base to boost your lightning units damage. And then you will have shield castle for increased defense. And I have lightning castle in here because it's the one that you probably level up in the beginning if you use a lightning build. You can leave this out, you're not going to be needing it, but you can have it if it's on a higher level once you start killing the legendary dragon. The last slot you can use whichever you have on the highest level, or you can just leave it empty. It's not going to be making a huge difference. And then we have treasures and skill tree, and then we will take a look how the build works. So let's start from the treasures, and you can pick any bow basically you want. All of them will give you heroes 5% critical chance. If you're also using town archer for damage, if you are really leveled them, then you can also pick the cursed knife for increased town archer damage as well. That's why I have it in here as an example for you. Next to it we have power claw, the best offensive treasure in the game. Make sure to pick this one for increased damage. And next to it we have sharp arrow to further increase the critical chance of our heroes, again making them a little bit stronger as well. And then the important part, make sure to include the strange key in your dungeon and dragon builds every single time, because it boosts your drop rate, and you wanna boost your drop rate. That means you need to spend less time farming dragons to get the items that you need. So make sure strange key is in there every single time. The last treasure we have is unicorn shield to boost our castle defense. Make sure that you are able to survive, especially early on when you're trying to get your first kills in. You most likely want to have a little bit of defense. I likely don't need this anymore for this build, but I placed it in here because this will be a setup that you wanna start keep on using when you are start trying to get in those first kills. If you still can't survive even with this setup, you can also use the broken shield or the bottomless red potion instead of sharp arrow in here as well. That's also an option to further increase your defense. The web is useless, don't use it against dragon. It doesn't help against the dragon attacks. And then Skilltree. Now I will also include image version of this in the description box as well for you to save for yourself in case you want to take a look at it afterwards. You can also always come back in here to watch it again. It's pretty similar to your waving setup as well. Basically we have the full lightning tree in here. And also the assassin debuff is applied one more time because we have dark assassin in our build to apply the critical debuff to the boss monster, to the dragon as often as possible. So we want it to be applied one more time every time that is done. So this is one of the changes that you probably don't have in your early game lightning setup, but you can pick it in here. But otherwise it's the full lightning tree, and in down here we have extra damage to leader to boost our Thor's damage. And of course when you go up you will want to get the hammer node to boost Thor and Zeus, and what's most important, you want to get this bow node in here, and the archery applies to itself nodes to boost your dark lightning archer damage, because she is, like I said, the top damage dealer against your legendary dragon. Now the next point to move onward from here would be to go from the upper path over here and reach these two strafe nodes over here for your dark lightning archer. These will further boost your dark lightning archer damage, making sure she can deal even more damage, making the kills faster for you. And eventually you will want this sword node as well in the physical tree to boost your damage overall a little bit. But the next step is to get these strafe nodes over here. And once you have a little bit of more skill points, I have 61 in here for this build. Once you have a little bit more and you are close to getting these nodes, you can probably try experimenting, refunding something from the lightning tree and getting those nodes and seeing if the kill becomes faster for you. This is going to be depending on your account, so it's going to be a little bit different for everyone, and it's something you have to test for yourself. But you can likely drop, for example, these 4 skill nodes over here and test if putting those points to the physical tree, if you can reach the strafe nodes, is going to result in a faster kill time against the legendary dragon for you. Our altar of choice for the build is the Altar of Death, which will instantly deal 20% damage to Legendary Dragon. If you can afford spending Dark Crystals, use the Altar of Death to make your kills faster. And how the build works is actually very simple. When you start the battle, you immediately cast your Altar and your Chrono for increased game speed, and then you will cast your Stone, Necromancer, Zeus, Dark Lightning Archer, and Bishop, and then Pure Wizard. And after this, you will keep on casting these once they are off cooldown. Preferably, you will want to make sure that you cast Lightning Archer and Necromancer at the same time, so that Lightning Archer can deal increased damage thanks to the Necromancer debuff. If you can also cast Zeus at the same time, even better, but make sure to at least cast Dark Lightning Archer at the same time of Dark Necromancer, and keep using the other ones as well. Thor will do his own job, you don't really have to worry about the leader, so he will just keep on dealing damage on his own, and the results again will look something like this. And against the dragon itself, they will look like something like this. So Thor and Zeus are very equal in here, and Dark Lightning Archer is still. Of course, Dark Lightning Archer is also the highest level unit in my build currently, but she should be the top 1 damage dealer against the legendary dragon. And finally, some modifications you can do in order to make yourself survive a little bit better or to make the kills a little bit faster. Let's start about survivability. And like I said, you can use the red potion or the unicorn seal in here to increase your defense and survivability in terms of treasures. If that's not enough, you can also switch red defender to blue defender promotion. Now, blue defender promotion will give you increased defense and also castle HP. But that will also mean that your Thunder Tower will no longer get the damage boost from Red Defender, so your Thunder Towers will deal less damage. Nevertheless, a thing you can try if you can't survive the dragon attacks. Now, on the other hand, if you are strong enough that you don't need those changes, you can of course keep the Red Defender in, you can keep your Sharp Arrow in, and especially if you have been using the Physical Summon build before, you likely have leveled your Edward leader a little bit. In this case, you can also use the Black Pearl Treasure, make yourself able to wear 2 leaders for your build. So instead of Unicorn Shield, you can pick the Black Pearl in here, which allows you to get Edward. And the thing in here we have for Edward is that he will increase the unit's attack on the field. Again, this should boost your Thor's damage by plus 10%. So this should be a thing that boosts your Thor's damage output. Of course, if Edward is also leveled, he can do a little bit of damage to monsters and to the boss as well, but mainly he's here for this buff. Now, Edward needs to survive during the battle for you to get this buff, so if Edward just keeps on dying, it's gonna be useless to keep him in. And I would say if Edward is not leveled, if you have not played the Physical Summon meta before, and you are just starting from the scratch, it's not worth to keep leveling Edward just because of this reason. Just to get that boost, it will be better to use that gold to actually boost your damage dealers instead. But it's an option if you have leveled your Edward. That's the basics of Legendary Dragon build for Lightning setup. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. I will do my best to give you an answer. Thank you again so much for watching. I absolutely love every single one of you. Stay safe, my friends. See you in the next one. Laku out.